A Central Coast body modifier behind bars over the death of a woman following a botched procedure has had his sentence reduced. Brendan Russell was jailed for 10 years, but today had a partial win on appeal.
Once referred to as a god by his clients, Brendan Russell was a body modifier with a cult following. But these days, the 42-year-old is behind bars, a convicted killer. His arrest in 2018 marking the start of his downfall, which reached its conclusion today in the Court of Criminal Appeal. In 2021, Russell was found guilty of 3 charges relating to separate procedures performed on 3 women. The first was a genital cosmetic procedure on a 29-year-old in January 2015. The second, a tummy tuck on another woman in November 2016. And the following year, a procedure to insert a snowflake under the skin, which ultimately proved fatal. Jailed for 10 years in 2022, Russell then appealed, his lawyers arguing the verdicts were unreasonable, the sentence excessive, and the genital mutilation offence should be thrown out due to a previous High Court ruling which found the charge only applied to female children during a ritualistic ceremony or procedure. Today, the Court of Criminal Appeal agreed, quashing that conviction, but Russell wasn't successful on the other 2 charges, including one of manslaughter relating to the botched snowflake procedure. Russell's lawyer also argued the woman may have died from multi-drug toxicity, but the Court of Criminal Appeal agreed with the sentencing judge that while it may have sped up her death, there was no doubt sepsis was the significant or substantial cause. Russell was resentenced to a non-parole period of 5 years and 3 months, meaning he could be released in December 2026, just over 2 years earlier than before. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
A shake-up to the Central Coast's power grid with a 412 kilowatt-hour battery switched on by the Federal Energy Minister and Ausgrid representatives at Narara today. The aim to provide cheaper and cleaner energy generated by local homes.
It should encourage more to put more solar on their roofs as a result of that. And as we get better at it, we hope to get the cost right down. So the cost of this storage will be cheaper than the cost of storage in your home.
The battery is the second of 400 set to be rolled out across Australia under a $250 million program. Heavy delays for motorists on the M1 today after a 4-wheel drive with a trailer rolled near Wiseman's Ferry Road. The trailer carrying kayaks blocked all southbound lanes for 2 hours just after midday. There are no reports of injuries. Mid-coast fishers are questioning the impact on their livelihoods as the federal government weighs up the future of wind farms offshore of the Hunter. They say they have concerns for crustaceans migration.
Steering towards shore with a haul of lobsters, this is a typical day for fisherman Phil Gogoley, but he's fearful of what his catch might look like if an offshore wind farm is built near Port Stephens.
I think that it's going to be devastating for the lobster industry and for all of the migrating crustaceans.
His father, Noel, has been fishing these waters off Foster for 52 years and says the coastline from Newcastle to Coffs Harbour is one of the largest breeding areas for lobsters.
We just don't know what's going to be the repercussions until it's too late.
Tipped to create more than 3,000 jobs during construction and help with the federal government's goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050. The zone spanning Port Stephens to southern Lake Macquarie was scaled back in size after it was found 2/3 of the 1900 submissions opposed the project's initial footprint.
We know that right up to Port Stephens, this is a combined $1 billion industry with tourism and commercial fisheries.
Federal Energy Minister Chris Bowen today telling NBN News the government will be licensing projects that can coexist with the environment. And before a project can commence, proponents must seek approval for feasibility licenses and comply with environmental regulations. Applications for feasibility licenses close November 14. Nikita Jager, NBN News.
Artificial reefs deployed off the Central Coast in September are now ready for recreational fishers to use. The structures provide habitats for marine life. It's expected bait will feed off the growths, helping to attract more species in the process. It's a celebration of Central Coast waterways, with thousands expected to learn about the region's aquatic environment during Lakes Fest. The event also providing an economic boost.
One stroke at a time, these locals are exploring their own backyard. From kayaking to arts and crafts and even comedy, organisers say there's something for everyone as Lakefest returns to the Central Coast for 10 days of fun on the water.
Lots of activities across the coast, so 30 different events and activities you can participate in 10 different areas. They span from Kilcare through to Budgie Boy.
The festival spanning from today until Sunday next week with a focus on education around the local lake systems. Starting off with an educational paddle at Picnic Point with an emphasis on protecting the environment.
To help people understand where we live and appreciate and celebrate our natural waterways, and it's just grown from there.
In Ettalong tomorrow, a stand-up paddleboard extravaganza is expected to attract large numbers before a draw card at the entrance, the Light Up the Lake event. Last weekend, the coast was booming with the return of Chromefest and with 55,000 people through the gates, generating an $11.5 million boost to the economy. Central Coast Council now wants to keep the cash flowing.
So last year it put about $3.5 million back into the local economy, so we'd anticipate a similar number this year.
Bianca Werrett, NBN News.
Let's take a quick look at the top temperatures throughout the region today. Gosford, 23 degrees after a minimum of 14. Currumbong topped out at 24 and Nobby's Head, 22.